냠지 진보도 유미종 요는 진보가 자다 다그러 다른 전도 실문도 스톰마도 제잔라기 숑살.
To liberate sentient beings, please generate the supreme bodhicitta before we start today's teaching.
완보 주바 결론다 대안디 제난정던데 대장 사바접 좀바 더버조버 산짐군 브르시베이 지르기는 바디 라나메 바양 더버조버 장치도 군브르조버 산자다 초치 레레양 지텐지 감시아 저주야 동철갑지 남바트도 요네 노아 첨부 캬브르 저르데 지텐지 감테도 탐치진 지텐지 와라 마kum바르 저르자 만바만 나가랍도 저라강나 니마다다 안더터 점지체와 안더터럼트체와 안더터즈지체와 대덕고기노 mani de de kato jang kato zobjedo jina mani ba de da yang di na chimbur kir to ji tenji war de da to semjen kato ki ba de da jang chigir chigam tone ema semchen de jan da chi jang der ki jang ko par te ki ma ki de semchen jan da jang der ki jang ko par ta Jir chikir chikichi son jiktenji kamte doktamchi na liyo ne dang liyo jarme kang to yopa na changbin jiktenji warta yang namba chikito yopa rikine noa chimbu kyabde lar namji lhim to le yang de so gerlong to tir ti tsena jiktenji kamte dokta sa chimbo yo jang noa chimbu kyabra kyar to tene shar choksan jiktenji kamsha chokchuk gyar tongchol ngabchi ringapche pate da changbir jarme kang da yo pate shendamzi jang langil hanir kerla hwardang dan jang zubje tang tan de kerdo gerlong de da de ne changba de da dan de nyam da changba de da gan de nyam da changbir jarme kang de da na shendamzi jang langil hanir kerba hwardang dan jang zubje tan bara kerba de singa de se ker nyam da semso gerlong da de ne jikten ji kamsha chotu ja tong jong ngap po de da na 창바 진보 강동 고바대도 담지죠. 안에다가 반선의 동네 마고 결론대도 나요 창바 진보 심정 담지 교바지샤 대 창바 진보 저거대 즉즉 잡안더메 우덕적 담지대로 신도가 저미 감정도 더랍던 바 화는 함메 이또 공화대 지시나 된들 던저는 저 돈도 자를 신아랍다 러 하이브 지근들지 저르데 데르제나테 인터 저르 타마르곤 마숑던 데나 카르테 산지 모원 저보 데 지테나 카시다 타나데 쇼르데 테론 쇼르 타나바 परमरवान दंडन तेइले तेइतेन नम गेलों तग तेने जितेंजी kamja chawchuja tongchang ngapje bote tongna changba chenbo te tong koba te tamjidal han jigdan di ne te ta rang ga changbal he jarmen khang da jigne le me tok parma rerab zam to ne chob jir je jang dongwa le no shodi lo so dongwa dong gelong ta te ne te changba chenbo te ta ki no shodi lo na chong den de te jong saba jab jom ba da bur zo bu san dim ngom bri shi be yi shi chenbo zir jong ba 샹저 냠봄 주동 담바르셔 샹집지 샹나 샹종나 성게 절라지데 라당 흐동 노전도 지자당 라마연담 카당 먹음저 도지 진보도 마도 마마연 바닥 용수 고로엠 던지테데 에르자체 존업 지리보테다 기장 주진 콜로 고로로 소란데 버럼 통오 통내 점점던데 데다 갈라르데를 하바담 점던데 잘람고 샹자데 점던데 라란 야통도 고로 तमा कुराशने में तो परवारम संते तो कचुंदन दे तेलाखतोर दे शांचु संवा होत चिचंजु द शांचिबजी शांति होत चिचंजु तो तोरने 참바저미 강테 또 참चुंदन दे लापर चुंदन दे दगचक तिउसेवे लाद 참비र जर्मित 강데 또 जेसो सोर चुंदन दे दगचक ला तिउसेवे लाद 참바저미 강데 또 용수 샤덕 소로 데르 셔바 용수 자도 소로지 소르도 gelong도 데네 참바침보 데도 가랑랑 저미ት 강테 또나 चुंदन दे तेलापर 데 체나 존던데 디 샤르나라 서당자위 츠츠잡바 nga 츠츠잡반다 또 금금브럭도도 곰스르 게라 차메탄 제든 밤바티체 만더숑테 곰볼라마르톰밤 존 게레베 탄노 슈크즈포데 지서존 도토네 장지텐 케바 너 샤 탑트르갑자 창와네 덕적데니 jarlapchagam zarata jarme kam chognan ba kundar pa doktor nam ji ngun ji li ba jarme kam ba rumu chawa ta da zhe nam la ti zhe la de je ji tim jin ba ji je la de so ro ge long de de ne chang ba jin bo de de zhong de de sha ba zhe zhong ba yang de bu zo bu ngom bu shi bi yi ji jin bu zhi ji non ba ti xian ge ci dang zha yi ci zhe ba de de ge ngom bu do ne zhong de lan de ge ji so do zhong de ji de ju jin ko lo ko do so ro zhong de ning len de ba sha de so ro zhong de sem chen nam zha de so ro zhong de ji de de ji su zong de so ro zhong de la dang ji ba de dang ji ba chang ba dang ji bin ji de ge zhong zhang zhe dang ji bi jie ge nam dang la dang ma dang la ma yin da ye la ma yin de ji ba la chu ji ko chu dan de so ro de ni jie wo meng bo la ma ba de jie wo meng bo de wa dang ji den ji tu zhe wa dang jie wo pa ro ji dang la dang ma nam ji dong de ma ba dang de wa jie ro do ge long de de ni chang ba jin bu xue zhe zhu jia dong zhe ga zhe bo de de ge zhe chi de tem bo zhong de la ci zhe ban de de so ro do zhong de ji ju sha de so ge ni zo dan de so ro xie bi to ji sha de so ro xie to ji sa de so ro sim sim deng le zhe deng nam le zhe ji den zhe ma ni bra ka dong ge me to ge zhe na hua wo jin bo de zhong wei na de zhong sha ba so ro ren ca ro ge long de de ni chang ba jin bo de la zhong de zhen mo song wei nang o ge long de di yi ce na xia shu xia lun cam ji ji den ji kam xia zhe zhu jia dong ngap zhe de na chang bi zhe me gang de de yo ba de xin de zi jiang dan na de ba lang ni hua dang dan jiang zi zhi dang dan bi ji de ge long de na chang ba jin bo de de gen de nyam de chang bi zhe me gang gang yo ba de de xin de zi jiang lang lan ni ji la hua dang dan jiang zi zhi dang zi zhi jian de ji ran de si nga de se ji re nyam de sem zo ge long de ne ji den ji kam xia zhe zhu jia dong zheng a zhi bo de de na chang ba jin bo gang dong ko ba de de tam ne de pan chen dong ne ma go ge long dang de ne chang ba chen bo rab de nyang je jin ji xia wei chang ba chen bo de de la ci zi zhe ban de zhou de se nga de ji zhe me kan nam dang zi xiang xin de zi dan ji ba de rang de na nang wa ji de rang la yi wo so nam jian xi de gong de yim de no zhe me kan de tam jin zi ji de gon de san ji gang nim chou ji den de nam zhong ji de geng geng de de dang zhe me kan de den zhe ji tam jin de de ba zhan de don chong ma yin de ngun chat tag nan dan ja wi de na nam yam mam tung o shu zhe tag den dong ru xia ni ji xiang jiang yang gu ru de rang sang jin ji den de do ma za ren zhong ren ye ge long de de ne xie chang ba xia zhe zhu jia dong zhong ngap zhe bo de rang rang ge chang bi zhe me kang de de xi ge de li me to per ma rup zam to ne shu zhe ji jiang dong wa le ne ji shu jim sam sun dong wa ge long de ne chang ba jin bo de ne ji shu jim sam na zhong de de zhe ba zhe zhong ba wang de bo zo ba sang ji yi jin bo zhe ji non ba de shang jim zhou dan ba ra xiao ba la shang ji ji zhong de seng ge zhe la ji de la dang le dang no zhen dang zhe za dang la ma yin dang nam ka de ma gum zhe dang du shi jin bo dang ma dang ma yin de de ge yong su gu ri jiang den ji de jia zhe zhong de zhe bo de dang ne chu jin ko lo gu ra so ra de dong tong ne jiang zhong den de ga la ba tang ne zhong den de di xiao lam gu xiang sa de zhong den de lan jier dong de ma gu ro xi ne me du ge per ma rup zam de zhong den de la do rap don tor de xiang ji xiang de wa zi za zhi zhen jiu do do ne xiang jiu zhe me kang de zhong den de la per de zhong den de de zhe la ti zhe la de zhang bi zhe me kang de ji su su de xiao ba de zhe la ti zhe la de zhang bi zhe me kang de yong su xia de su ji su do ge long de de ne chang ba jin bo de ran ran ge zhe me kang de la zhong den de per de ne de yi ce zhong den de xiang ngar dang da yi ci zhe ban de ge ngum bo do zhong me zhang zhong jie nom zhang zhe lo ga la ben ge yan ji la yi la na bu ren ba la jin ji din na ji din pan zi jiu lo zhong zhe lo ngum bo xian de yang ran jia de na ngum zhe ji ro de rong ji den zhe ga ro jia yang zuo ren ji den de san ji jia jie de de zong bu ji ga ra zhou zhe jia jie zuo ban gang ni zuo ngun zhe dong bu ren ji de zhe ngang su nam ba la yi le na dong de nian bu ren ji da na da zhe nam ji su nam ji chu ji yang ji jiao bo den dang ne jiao dang pa dang za la bang zi ba de ji dan ban ji den de ren zhong ge long de de ne zang ba jin bo de de ge zhong de de sha ba zhe zhen ba de bo ba san ngom bi chi be yi xi jin bo zi jiao non ba de xian ngar zi dang da wi zi zhe ban de de ge mo bro to no zhong den de lan de ge ji su ru do zhong den de ji den de chu jin ko lo ko do su ru zhong den de nyang de ba sha de su ru zhong den de zhen zhen nan zha de su ru zhong den de ji den de ji su zong de su ru zhong den de la dang ji ba de dang ji ba chang ban de ji ban ji den dans Gejong dans transit dans Jibir Chekanam Hadam dans Hamayan Jibala Chusha Sura Tenekio Mambo Mamba dans Kia Geo Mambo Deva dans Jitin La Tuxea dans Kio Pormuche dans Hadam Marnam Jitun dans Mamba dans Deverture to Gelonta Tenet Samba Chimbuja Chokuja Tonto Japote Jarkachik them Temperjoti, John de la Jaman the Tagasur. Sordo, Tobajimbo Jungolo Goro, Jojanam Sujata, Shata, Sura, the Chuki Simpson, Rurally, Legioner, Namla, Gajan, Ran, Ke, Tetu Nena Shancha, Tom Jera de Liones, Liones, Yamche, Varnger. Nenam Siam Shiver and Jerer, Kanjil Hama Inji Lifande. Terjan, Jela, Raptor, Dever and Jero, Gerlonda, Tenet Sambate, Jonathan de Chichimos, no, Tene Gerlon, the Hosho Ginger, then comes Java to Jet. Rungapjubo, the Dona, Samba Jermekan, the Yobatation, the Zijan, Dana, the Balhan, Lana, Jerba, what on Dungeon Zurchiton. Zurchichandan Gerno, Gelonte, the Samba Jimbo, the Kandam, Mojermekan, the Dona, Shundam Zijan, Hangil Hanil, Jerva, what on Dungeon Zurchitan, the Jervanda. See if this is Jerniam to Semso, Gelonta, Tene, Jistinjia come to get. Rungapjubo, the Dona, Samba, the Kupa, the Tamjanian, the Panson, Dome, Mago, Gelonda, Tene, Samba Jimbo, choosing Jisha, Sambi, Sochimbo, La, Jaba, Dermeba, Trobota, Terra Jimeba, Jermekan, the Tamjas. Jadajan, Jitender Jonzerte, Cherton, Teiton, the Labra, Sarvarisha, Karagapcho Magnon de Bana, the Darngargun, Namiam Joma, Yanander, Hai, Vajiki, Yanajitin, the San Game John, Gerlonda, Tene, Jitinji, Kamshia, Chotujaton, Japchibo, Rungapchibo, the Donatamba Chimbo, the Kuba, the Tamjas Hanjik, the Dine, Rangatsambia Jermekan, the Jidi, Hai Meto, Parvarupsam, Tone. Chojir Jejang Dongale, Shangchuk Sundongada, Gelong, Taga, Dene Sambachimbo, Shangchuk Lona, John the Devil Sabata Jumba on the Portobasandi. Mumbraship, Ishi Jimbo, Zirgin Nombati, Shanchip, Nyambom Cho, Tambrak, Sharjan, Shanchip Jitone, Sanki Talaji del Hadan. Khulodang, Nojindang, Zazadang, Hamayindang, Namkardang, Mamchidang, Toshi Chimbodang, Madang, Mumayin Bataka Yonsu Kurve, Denji Te, Yarva, Jonap Chibo, Teda, Chujin Kolokoro, Sora, Tongo, Tony Johnson de Don Tel, Honey Jonathan de Jalamgu, Jamsa de Jonathan de Del, Lanjaton Tomer Gene, Meto Pravara Rupsam, Tedaki. Jonathan de la Raptor, Shanjip Jishan, Horse the Church, and Jodorne, Zambia Jermicante, Jonathan de Tela, Jonathan de Dachala, Tixi Lada Zambia Jermicanda, Jesus, or the Rosaba, Dachala, Tixi Lada Zambia Jermicanda, Yonsu Shadow, Sorlogi. Gerlonda de Zamba Jimbo de Ranga Jermicante, Jonathan de la Perne, de Jonathan de Tishan, Sardan David Jabba. The number of Toto, Remember Washington, Nebraska, Lobrosova, not to be Dodge, Jitin Kina, Ron, Chut, Dem Tomokarashi is neither Tsane, now and Jera, Jitem Gombo, Kirgo, Moon, Lum, Zutter, Munchut, Mamton, Galam, Namjerba, Nieka, Adam Gary, Metojan, Division number and Jemba Jam, Tom, number, Jemba Dr. Jermican, Jim Tina. Zibber, Jera, Gundushakin, the Dodges, also Dr. Tutsi Latta, Chabra, so Gerlonda, the Samba Chimbo, the John and the Dons of Rajama, the Personality, Ishi, Chimbo, Zirgin, be sharing certain Davis to Jabate, the Gumberton, John and de la Turkici, Surdo, John and Jitin, Jujin, Corlo, Cordo, John and Emian, the Bashatos, or John and the Simson of Datos, or John and Jitin, in the Docker, Jesus, or John and the Hadam Jibi, the Domjiba, Samba, Domjiban Jitin, Transit, gave John. Transit of JB Ganam Hadam Madala, Mayin Dom Jebala Chushado Sor, Denekio Mombola, Mabada Kio Mombo Deada, Jitin La, Tuxeada, Kio, Baro Che, Don Hadam, Namjiton, the Mambado, Derek Gerardo, Gelonda, Denis Sambaja, to get on to get Jibote, the Kachik, Tumber Joti, Jonathan de la Tisujaban, the Sordo, Namandrimba, Jonathan Chusha Sura, Chujin Kurlo, Rapto Kurdo Sura, Chujin, and Rapto Don Sura, Chujiton, Raptam Batos. Tamchu Charvan, Jitin, Wapto, Sura, Yanyan Pena, Labar, Standard Sura, Sura, the Chuna Shadow, Sura, Simchia, Church, Sur gerlong da tene zamba jimbo de do jongden de de jimok song ro na jimok song ri jirwe nang o devjin de gyarde devjin de lonop ji shodang devjin de nup ji shodang devjin de nupshing ji shodang devjin de shengge shodang devjin de shangshir ji shodang wok shodnam kyang devjin no.
Reciting the Tibetan version of the transmission takes 15 minutes. If we talk about it in Chinese more specifically, it seems like the Tibetan version is a bit longer from the looks of it. Next, we will continue our in-depth discussion and exploration of the profound teachings contained within the revered Lotus Sutra. Today, our primary focus and extensive conversation will revolve around the intricate and enlightening principles presented in the Lotus Sutra itself. As you may recall from our previous session, we have already thoroughly covered a significant and foundational portion of Chapter 7, delving into its crucial insights and spiritual wisdom. This is the chapter of apparitional city, indeed. In this section, there are also numerous and diverse metaphors that are thoroughly discussed and examined. Furthermore, it also elaborates upon some of the significant and commendable merits of the Buddha, and it thoroughly discusses some important aspects of the revered Lotus Sutra, which we could say are related to spiritual practice. In actual fact, no matter what spiritual dharma you choose to practice, it is truly essential that you put it into practical application in your everyday daily life. So-called Buddha Dharma is actually not something you only pay close attention to during class and then completely lose all focus once class is finally over. It's not like that. What we call spiritual practice is also not about being especially diligent only when you close your eyes to meditate and enter samadhi, and then doing absolutely whatever you desire and truly want once you have completely come out of your meditation session. That's not the true essence of it either. A truly dedicated and committed practitioner, no matter when or in what particular state they find themselves in, always maintains a truly right awareness and a truly right mindfulness. They diligently safeguard their present thoughts and their current intentions. Only in this profound way can one's spiritual practice be truly complete and ultimately successful. In the very beginning, as ordinary people, we have been wandering in samsara since time without beginning. It's very difficult for us to truly have the ability to guard and control our own minds, but if we practice and strive for a long period of time, there comes a point when it feels like you simply must continue to practice. You develop this kind of feeling. For some of us who have just been in long-term retreat, it seems that we really can't quite get used to being among certain specific groups in society. Some of us, our very own minds, if we consistently maintain a deeply meditative and truly pure state, then when we inevitably return to the often restless life of the world, we will find it to be quite uncomfortable. Of course, this is primarily a foundational method specifically designed for beginners to effectively quiet their minds. When one's practice reaches a certain level, one can, as described in the Great Perfection, to diligently practice in the very midst of the noisy, bustling, worldly life, to fully integrate into such an active and engaged life. Nowadays, most people, especially some devoted practitioners in certain monasteries, are probably beginners. They firmly believe that staying forever in quiet, peaceful places, always remaining in retreat constantly, is actually very good beneficial for beginners initially starting out. But for a true experienced practitioner, you don't necessarily have to stay in one single environment forever at all. Maybe in a quiet environment, your mind can settle down. But when you are in a very complicated and very busy situation, or especially in a very noisy environment like that, such an environment, or among complicated crowds, can you still truly maintain your own individual thoughts? This is indeed very much important for all practitioners. Some of us can only maintain our state within Buddhist circles, or just stay in some quiet places where they can keep their own state. However, if you allow yourself to completely blend into the vast crowds or the prevailing environments of the world around you, you will ultimately end up remaining exactly the same as you were before, inevitably reverting to your original and often especially base mindset or state of being. This is also considered a significant failure for us practitioners. Therefore, in the process of our practice, it is important to consistently maintain the state you have in quiet places. This is very important, but you should also try your best to integrate into society and the world, especially when you might encounter some wicked people or find yourself in some harsh environments or face very complicated situations. For example, in your lifetime, some impermanent events that you could never have imagined, insults from others, or significant major changes happening in your life, or your body being tormented by a severe illness, and so on and so forth. At times such as these, only then can you truly and clearly see how your spiritual practice genuinely is. The way you usually feel, often thinking that you are doing quite well. Indeed, we often sometimes think that we have already realized Dzogchen, or that we have realized the emptiness of the middle way. But when faced with some really very, very minor issues, quite indeed, we are completely unable to control or overcome them. This is very difficult to achieve. This is one aspect of it. In terms of practice, what I mainly want to talk about today is first that practice should be integrated into daily life, especially when you encounter difficult, challenging things that ordinary people cannot face easily today. Those who are truly good at spiritual practice have their own unique, effective ways to transcend such difficult things completely. That's one aspect. There's also another. In the profound Lotus Sutra, yesterday we extensively talked about a person with a significant disability who formed a connection with the Lotus Sutra and gained tremendous merit. So today, let's talk about how many of us are now very deeply attached to longevity, which encompasses the significant extension of human life and the process of living considerably longer. People are extremely and intensely fixated on this. Many people conscientiously take various health supplements on a daily basis, perform kinds of Buddhist rituals, and want to live a long life. At our Buddhist Academy, we often hold special longevity ceremonies. We are about to hold one, aren't we? A significant longevity ceremony. When exactly is it scheduled to take place? It's on April 3rd, isn't that right? When the Buddhist Academy holds a longevity ceremony, many people eager to participate. Even though it might be difficult for some to come to the Larangar in person, many people still really like it. Why is that? Because people are attached to their own lifespan. In actual fact, forming a profound connection with the Sacred Lotus Sutra is also a particularly good and beneficial longevity ceremony. Let me tell a story while I'm at it. There was once a very novice monk who ordained at a young age. Actually, for a true monastic, it's best not to get involved in worldly society. If one ordains directly from childhood, their life, their body, and their mind are all very pure, healthy, and truly wholesome. Such a dedicated monastic starts learning the sacred precepts from a very young age. Later, around the age of 20 years old, he received the full ordination precepts. Afterwards, there was a wise fortune teller who came by. Actually, in the past, there were also many truly remarkable fortune tellers. This was also indeed the case in some ancient historical accounts. At that particular time, the fortune teller, a seer of great renown, said, "Your lifespan is very, very short. You won't live in this world for very long." He was very upset after hearing this. He went everywhere seeking advice, looking for eminent monks and great masters. Later, some great masters suggested that he recite the Lotus Sutra. This should be very beneficial for longevity. His name was Tonghui. That was the given name of the young novice monk. Subsequently, he made the decision to temporarily set aside his dedicated studies of the Vinaya school. He went to some quiet places. He began to diligently recite the profound Lotus Sutra for a period of 3 full years. It truly seems that he recited it an astonishing 5,000 or 6,000 times indeed. Later, when he eventually met the wise fortune teller once again, the fortune teller was truly amazed and exclaimed, "Your precious lifespan has now miraculously increased by 50 years. This fortunate person eventually lived to be well over 90 years old, a truly long and fulfilling life." Some people might think that we heavily rely on some very tangible and essential things, such as certain health products for our daily well-being, or some health-preserving concepts and treatments. These might have a significant effect on physical health and longevity and play a very important role. Of course, we do not deny this. These also bring great benefits. But even more profoundly important is the careful cultivation of our inner mind, and the inner elixir is also very, very important indeed. People who regularly recite the Lotus Sutra, except for those whose life force is truly exhausted, perhaps even Amitayus Buddha cannot help them. But for others, if they regularly recite the Lotus Sutra, there truly are inconceivable merits. At the same time, it brings great benefits to one's own longevity and health. It is also extremely beneficial. So in ancient times, many great masters and ordinary practitioners would often recite the Lotus Sutra. This was especially common in China. So today, we are talking about the merit of reciting the Lotus Sutra for longevity. Of course, many of you undoubtedly place great importance on this particular matter. We will thoroughly discuss this in more detail below. Yesterday, we specifically mentioned that the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory had already successfully attained complete Buddhahood. Before attaining Buddhahood, he needed to meditate under the Bodhi tree for just 10 small kalpas indeed. Later, after he had already attained Buddhahood and appeared before everyone, the 16 princes from before he renounced the household life also came to make offerings to him and requested him to turn the Dharma wheel. This was the process. He had already become a Buddha. The content we are covering today is relatively simple. The Brahmas from the 10 directions, east, south, west, north, and all directions, as well as sentient beings from the 10 directions, came to make offerings and praise him. At the same time, they requested him to turn the Dharma wheel. This was the process. Much of the actual content is more or less the same. The overall framework and structural organization of the content is relatively easy to understand. When reciting the Tibetan just now, it might have been a bit longer. In Chinese, perhaps there are a few more words. However, the actual content itself is quite simple and straightforward. Let's take a closer look together, shall we? The Buddha told the bhikshus, when the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory attained supreme and perfect Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi in each of the 10 directions, in 500 million Buddha lands and countless worlds, there were continuous 6 kinds of tremors. We've already discussed the 6 kinds of tremors earlier when we talked about the 5 sutras of the Pure Land. As for the 6 kinds of tremors, they are not like the earthquakes or other similar events we might imagine. Some Buddhist sutras often use vivid analogies. For example, when a young child is falling asleep and is gently rocked in a cradle, it feels very comfortable. But generally speaking, these 6 distinct kinds of tremors are basically imperceptible to ordinary human senses. Only those with truly supernatural powers or really miraculous abilities can perceive them. As for these lands, they were originally truly extremely dark and utterly obscure places where the sun and moon could not penetrate at all, casting an impenetrable and perpetual gloom. Because the Buddha attained enlightenment and Buddhahood at that particular time, a great, brilliant, divine radiance appeared everywhere around immediately then. This is also clearly mentioned in ancient sacred Tibetan texts, where some suffering beings in the lower realms, including those without leisure, immediately gained full access to the light. Now, regarding this particular kind of radiance, all the sentient beings, because of the appearance of this brilliant light, who were previously dwelling in profound darkness, now all those beings who were in darkness have personally witnessed the illuminating light. They all found it to be extremely rare and exclaimed in heartfelt praise, "How is it that in this truly vast world of ours?" In Tibetan, it's an exclamation like, "Oh, how wondrous! How wondrous in our current environment! How have so many sentient beings appeared?" In fact, they were all originally together. It's just that they were in darkness and didn't recognize each other at all whatsoever. When the Buddha's brilliant light shines upon all the worlds everywhere, in reality, many auspicious miraculous signs appear clearly. This important point is also specifically mentioned in the famous ancient Fa Hua Wenju, the words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra text. When our revered teacher Shakyamuni Buddha entered the womb at that auspicious time, the entire 3,000 great thousand worlds were illuminated by a brilliant light as well. Later, when he finally attained full enlightenment, there was also a brilliant light pervading the entire vast 3,000 worlds. Such truly auspicious signs appeared in the magnificent and great heavenly palaces of these spiritual realms. In all the magnificent palaces of the heavenly beings, even in the grand palaces of Brahma and Great Brahma, the 6 distinct kinds of tremors also appeared in precisely the same way. As mentioned earlier, in the celestial heavenly palaces of the gods, the 6 kinds of tremors also appeared in the same way. The great light universally illuminated the entire world, and this light already surpassed the light of all the gods. Heavenly beings naturally possess various lights, which are generated by their own inherent merit and blessings. But the brilliant light that appeared when the Buddha attained enlightenment far surpassed the light of even the heavenly beings. In fact, this particular light should be considered even brighter than the ordinary light of our world. The ancient sutra on the Buddha's original deed states clearly, day and night continuously, the Buddha's brilliant light shines throughout the entire vast 3,000-fold world and deeply penetrates the hearts of all sentient beings. It reached directly and profoundly into the very hearts of all sentient beings. It penetrated straight and deeply into the innermost minds of all sentient beings. The light of our physical world, or the light of heavenly celestial beings, may only appear among external material things clearly, or perhaps only appears at night time. But this kind of divine spiritual light is completely different altogether from them. It can even illuminate the minds of all sentient beings. Furthermore, other scriptures have also mentioned this important concept. The ancient Maharatnakuta Sutra states clearly, where the Tathagata's brilliant divine light illuminates everywhere, it penetrates completely, without any hindrance whatsoever. Whoever beholds it will surely generate the enlightened mind immediately, except for those who have absolutely no faith at all. That is to say, indeed, the Buddha's light can actually illuminate all sentient beings. There are absolutely no obstacles at all. Whoever truly sees this brilliant light, it is impossible for them not to give rise to bodhicitta, unless they possess absolutely no faith at all, a complete and utter absence of belief. Sometimes this particular point may indeed be the case for us as well, reflecting our own internal state. For example, when we prostrate ourselves reverently to the Buddha, sometimes it may genuinely be due to a profound sense of faith, seeing some Buddha light, seeing some auspicious signs. Some people, because they saw auspicious signs or a brilliant Buddha light, immediately develop profound faith and understanding and instantly receive abundant blessings. Even now, there are people who, for example, make pilgrimages to the 4 great sacred mountains and see the Buddha light of Manjushri Bodhisattva or see the Buddha light of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, and then naturally come to believe in Buddhism. This also happens. Sometimes, unless we have absolutely no faith at all and think all of this is fake and refuse to acknowledge anything, this is also problematic. Because from a young age we have lived in an environment that is completely materialistic, where only tangible things and external material things are recognized and nothing else is acknowledged. If we grow up in such a world, then anything that truly arises from deep-seated inner auspicious signs or profound and genuine inner faith is completely denied. This is indeed a very frightening and profound thing. So we also truly need to understand that the Buddha's light genuinely does exist, and we will discuss later that it contains many inconceivable and wondrous aspects. As mentioned earlier, the Buddha's light has already illuminated this world, as well as the entire world of Brahma and all of it. And at this time, in the East, when all these Brahma worlds truly tremble indeed first among the vast 5 trillion lands in the East, actually, the palaces of Brahma are illuminated with light. It is completely and utterly different from before, very, very obvious. All these Brahma kings are truly thinking. The radiant light in the Grand Palace today is completely and entirely different from any previous era in the past. What is the exact cause and the specific condition for such a great light to appear today? Sometimes there are such occurrences, for example, the birth of a great accomplished being, There are many such auspicious signs in the world. At this particular time, each and every one of the Brahma kings gathers together and they commence a significant meeting in their grand conference hall. Why has this appeared today? Was it the large conference room, the small one, or the medium one? No one knows. In any case, among celestial beings, there must be many conference rooms in the heavenly palace. Then, while they were having the meeting, one of the Brahma kings, whose name was Savior of all, a truly remarkable and profoundly significant title, and his name is quite interesting and noteworthy too, he then began to eloquently speak on behalf of the other powerful Brahma kings to everyone present. When he spoke, it wasn't like how we usually engage in casual conversation. He spoke entirely in verse, just like in the epic of King Gesar. Every minister would rise and sing in verse. Actually, this was common among the ancients as well. Celestial beings do this too. Nowadays, when we speak, let alone using verses, we can't even express ourselves clearly and accurately in prose at all today. So how did he actually speak in verse? He said, "As for the brilliant radiance within our magnificent heavenly palace, you see, indeed it is truly unprecedented. Never before has such an incredibly auspicious sign of brilliant, radiant light appeared. What is the precise cause and the prevailing condition for this situation? Everyone truly must seek out the complete truth of the matter. Perhaps some truly great, immensely virtuous being has gracefully descended from the highest heavens above, or perhaps a Buddha has truly appeared in the world. Why does this light shine so brightly and powerfully today, illuminating the entire world before us now?" They began to wonder about this matter deeply then. Sometimes, when great virtuous ones or sages appear suddenly, when certain accomplished beings come into this world, this kind of brilliant and auspicious light also appears. When the enlightened Buddha is born into the world, this magnificent and radiant light also manifests itself. We have discussed this phenomenon in detail before, haven't we? Historically, during the significant Zhou dynasty, which was a crucial period among the ancient Chinese dynasties, including the Xia, Shang, Zhou, and the later Qin dynasties, it was at this very time when the revered Buddha was born in ancient India, a momentous event. In some historical books, such as the ancient and significant records of the Zhou dynasty, in the records of the Zhou, it is said that at that time it should have been during the reign of King Zhou of Zhou. During that period, in the time of King Zhou of Zhou, a great light appeared in the royal palace. The earth also kept trembling. The powerful rivers surged and swelled in ways unlike anything witnessed before. The very air was profoundly filled with a sweet and captivating fragrance, and countless celestial flowers gracefully rained down from the heavens above. Indeed, there were many, many truly auspicious and wondrous signs. When these remarkable and extraordinary auspicious signs appeared at that significant time, it seems that, according to some historical accounts, the explanations differ quite a bit, somewhat. There was a grand historian long ago then, someone like that indeed, named Su Yu himself. He said, "Your Majesty, a truly great and wise sage, is about to emerge very soon in the Western lands." What he just meant was that Shakyamuni Buddha was indeed about to be born, because a light had appeared, an auspicious sign of the Buddha's birth. When the Buddha entered parinirvana, it was not during the reign of the king, but similar signs also appeared. So although there are indeed very many different accounts in various historical texts, when the Buddha was born, even in the Han region too, it was also widely said that a truly great sage would appear in the West, and that his teachings and methods would indeed come to China after another 1,000 years. This is precisely what is recorded in the ancient records of strange events in the Book of Zhou. Later, it was truly from the Zhou dynasty onward that Shakyamuni Buddha's profound and insightful teachings arrived during the early Eastern Han period. There should have been nearly a full 1,000 years in between these significant events. As for the esteemed author of that particular text, it seems it was indeed written by a venerable monk from either the Sui or the subsequent Tang dynasty. There are also such accounts in history. So, including the time when the Buddha, our Shakyamuni Buddha, was born, also occurred in different worlds, with various auspicious signs appearing. Of course, some of these auspicious signs include certain Buddha lights. In fact, some ancient scriptures explicitly state that only highly enlightened bodhisattvas and truly accomplished practitioners can truly perceive and witness them. As for us ordinary people, we may only be able to see some worldly lights like the light of the sun and moon. Other than that, some of the special lights of Buddhas and bodhisattvas are generally very difficult to clearly perceive without a certain amount of inherent merit. These celestial beings are also extremely blessed and fortunate. Just now, among the celestial beings of the East, one of the heavenly kings told everyone, "This is definitely a rather special and auspicious sign. We must absolutely get to the bottom of it and to find out exactly what this is." At this very moment, indeed, the Brahma kings of 500 million worlds, along with their own palaces, they reside in their magnificent palaces. According to the ancient Tibetan text, because Brahma is a deity of the form realm, which is specifically the realm of deep meditation and pure forms, a state that is quite distinct and somewhat different from our own ordinary desire realm, which is characterized by sensory experiences and attachments. Their form is also different from our physical form. According to the Abhidharma Kosha, it is not the same. So based on their very own intentions, along with their grand palaces, it's quite similar to the environments we experience in our dreams. They reside in their own palaces, and from every place they begin to go forth. Each of them relies on a yijya, a kind of garment or vehicle. We seem to have encountered the term yijya in the Pure Land Sutras as well, haven't we? It is specifically used to hold beautiful heavenly flowers, much like a decorative flower basket or an elegant vase. They live in their grand palaces, each holding this particular kind of vase, holding these beautiful flowers, and then they all go together to the west because they reside in the east, you see. Earlier, the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory was in the west. So they came to investigate the true nature of this light. Eventually, they arrived in this world and met the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory. He was sitting peacefully beneath the sacred Bodhi tree upon the magnificent lion throne. Many celestial devas, powerful dragons, melodious Gandharvas, and graceful Kinnaras, as well as formidable Maharagas, all manner of humans and various non-humans, all respectfully surrounded him. When these Brahma kings arrived, this Buddha, just like before, was also accompanied by many attendants. They also saw the 16 princes who were also requesting the turning of the Dharma wheel. At this particular time, the Brahma kings began to respectfully bow at the Buddha's sacred seat, circumambulating hundreds or even thousands of times, indeed many, many times. It wasn't necessarily precisely 100 or 1,000 times, but rather a great multitude. Now, when we circumambulate the mandala 100 times, my feet truly hurt. I simply can't do it. I absolutely cannot walk any further. I've only completed 25 grueling rounds. My feet ache so very much, they're completely blistered. So, when these celestial beings reverently circumambulate the Buddha, it's certainly not like some of our Dharma friends might imagine. It absolutely wouldn't be like that, would it? Just a moment ago, weren't those beautiful flowers carefully brought in their robes and then respectfully offered onto the Buddha's sacred body? And the flowers they offered were especially large, as big as Mount Sumeru. That's a profound metaphor too, signifying something extraordinarily vast and immensely grand, and the beautiful fragrant flowers offered were also reverently scattered over the sacred Bodhi tree. Usually the revered Vajra seat in India now, which is essentially the Dharma throne, is a very significant and hallowed place. At the Vajra seat in India nowadays, every year there are many prayer gatherings from various Tibetan traditions held there. The Nyingma prayer gathering, the Kagyu prayer gathering, the Gelug prayer gathering, the Sakya prayer gathering. Back when we went in 1990, they had just started holding them. At that time, there was only the Nyingma prayer gathering. It had only been going for a year or two, but now all the different schools hold them. Basically, during our winter here, over there, the prayer gatherings happen one after another. There are also various different lamas, each leading their devoted disciples, sitting upon the sacred Dharma throne. And then, the disciples positioned below reverently offer beautiful flowers to them. There are also offerings at the Bodhi tree. Now, at the Bodhi tree in India, there are also many different kinds of beautiful flower garlands. In fact, in the Theravada tradition of Buddhism, flower garlands are a particularly auspicious symbol for Buddhism. Every time, whenever a Dharma gathering is held, especially in some Buddhist countries at such times, including in some schools, when they hold Buddhist activities together today, their teachers and students all wear flower garlands around their necks with great reverence. This is also a kind of symbol indeed truly. At that time long ago, the Bodhi tree was also adorned with all kinds of fresh flowers. After the sacred flower offerings were completed, they took their own respective items, palaces, those of the Devas and Brahma, and offered them to the Buddha. When offering to the Buddha, they also reverently said, "May you have profound compassion and truly benefit us sentient beings, the magnificent palaces we humbly offer. We sincerely hope that the Buddha will surely accept them." At this very moment, Brahma and the others, earlier there should have been a proper offering. Indeed, this is an offering. And later they requested the turning of the Dharma wheel. Every Buddha goes through this process. At this time, King Brahma and all other Brahmas together recited this profound verse in unison before the Buddha. They said, "World-honored one, you are truly extremely rare and precious. To encounter such a Buddha is indeed truly difficult. He possesses immeasurable and boundless merit, and most importantly, he is able to save the countless sentient beings in the world. As the teacher of gods and humans, if he has compassion for all sentient beings in the 10 directions of the world, it is all for the benefit of these beings. All types of sentient beings everywhere throughout existence have suffered the endless pains of samsara since beginningless time long ago. It seems to us there are several different translations of this text today. In the Mahasamnipata Sutra, it is stated like this: the Buddha, with his profound and skillful means, enables all sentient beings to ultimately attain complete liberation. That is to say, all of us sentient beings suffer greatly in the cycle of samsara, but it is only the true Buddha who truly possesses skillful means to liberate these sentient beings. Actually, this scriptural proof is also very good. This statement is also very good. The great teacher of gods and humans, out of profound compassion for the entire world, universally benefits all sentient beings in the 10 directions. With these scriptural proofs, we should understand the Buddha's merits. The Buddha is the teacher of gods and humans. What is he? He is nothing else but that. He's compassionate towards sentient beings in the 10 directions. So if he's compassionate towards sentient beings, the Buddha has the ability to benefit them. What is the only way he benefits them? It is by turning the wheel of Dharma to benefit sentient beings. Therefore, when these Brahma gods unanimously and reverently praise the Buddha, they say, "You truly and profoundly benefit us." So in what specific and meaningful way does he truly benefit all sentient beings? It is through the Buddha's skillful means. The Buddha, with skillful means, universally enables all to attain liberation. This is very important. For us Dharma teachers as well as lay practitioners, I have mentioned this repeatedly in the past. In fact, we really need skillful means. If you lack skillful means, even if you have wisdom, even if you have ability, you still may not be able to benefit sentient beings. But if you possess skillful means, and especially have the sincere wish to benefit sentient beings, even if your wisdom is not very high, and your abilities are not really very strong, and your talents in various aspects are not necessarily exceptional indeed, you may still have the opportunity to form positive and meaningful connections with sentient beings around you. Look closely at the Buddha's skillful means. The Buddha uses skillful means to universally liberate sentient beings. This is very important. Next, as was mentioned at the time, he said, "As for us heavenly beings, we have indeed come here from places far beyond 500 million worlds, giving up the profound and deep bliss of our own meditative absorption and our tranquil contemplation. In order to make offerings to the Buddha, we bring our own palaces, our own flowers and all our possessions, but perhaps other heavenly beings don't have much. It's not like when we move house, moving pots, pans, bowls, cutting boards and curtains, constantly needing this and that. I see that now as the Buddhist Academy is demolishing some buildings, some tricycle businesses are doing especially well, experiencing a significant increase in their daily operations and profits. And I saw a few tricycle drivers who were particularly happy. So that's how it is when we move things. Whenever we need to do something, we need all these things. But as for heavenly beings, they just live in their palaces. And whoosh, they just effortlessly fly over there. It's truly very comfortable arriving at the Buddha's sacred place. They say our accumulated merits from past lives have made these magnificent palaces extremely splendid and grand. It's not like us using things like plywood back in the 70s and 80s when people decorated their houses. They would meticulously cover every single surface with layers of newspaper, carefully applying a homemade flour paste or a strong adhesive glue, and then proceed to stick these prepared newspapers everywhere throughout the entire space, ensuring complete coverage. That's how it was in the 70s and 80s. All the decorations from our childhood were like that. Whether it was a humble plywood house or a more rustic mud brick house, if the entire interior space was meticulously covered with newspapers from floor to ceiling, we would invariably think to ourselves, wow, this dwelling is incredibly comfortable, truly magnificent, and possesses a unique sense of grandeur. Now, the decorations are different too. But even the way we decorate now is basically the same. There's nothing truly reliable about it. So I hope everyone doesn't get too attached. If you get attached, no matter how well you decorate, in the end it's really just like the newspaper decorations from the 70s and 80s and are really no different from using many other common materials for decorative purposes now. In another 20 years or even 100 years from now, the materials used for decoration might not be the same either. In every single era, truly everyone is especially attached to their own house. But if you get attached, the very essence of it isn't necessarily real or truly substantial. If you carefully look at the heavenly beings at that particular time, they think our magnificent palace, manifested by our own accumulated merit, is decorated especially beautifully. Indeed, everyone's entire life is intrinsically related to their own personal merit. Some people have good houses, while some people have bad houses, and some people might even... The other day I met a Dharma friend who stated that in a period of just 3 years, he had to move his residence a remarkable 14 separate times. So sometimes it is also profoundly and intrinsically related to the accumulated karma of the sentient beings themselves, influencing their circumstances and experiences in life. So the heavenly beings feel that their merit is quite good. Look at how magnificent our palace is. Today we are making offerings to the world-honored one. We hope the Buddha will accept them. This is a clear expression of their heartfelt offering with deep devotion. At this particular time, after the Brahma king had finished praising with verses, each and every one of them also respectfully prayed to the Buddha, sincerely then. They earnestly wished, "World-honored one, please turn the Dharma wheel and liberate sentient beings for us." Actually, as for turning the Dharma wheel, the writings on the Lotus Sutra says that so-called turning refers to the wisdom and compassion in the Buddha's mind stream. Transfers into the mind stream of sentient beings, allowing them to attain enlightenment and liberation. This is what is called turning the Dharma wheel. For example, Dharma within mind stream. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas transfer mind stream from sentient beings so that sentient beings attain liberation, dispel confusion, and realize enlightenment. That is the meaning. At that time, they prayed for the world-honored one to turn the Dharma wheel, to liberate sentient beings and open the path to nirvana. At this very moment, Brahma King and all the others, in complete unison, also respectfully requested the turning of the Dharma wheel. The following section is indeed the request to turn the Dharma wheel. Previously, it was the offering that was presented. So what is the verse for requesting the turning of the Dharma wheel? The sacred verse for requesting the turning of the Dharma wheel profoundly says, "O honored one of the two-legged beings in this world, we sincerely and humbly request you to expound the profound Dharma with great compassion and profound loving kindness to deliver us pitiable sentient beings who are deeply afflicted by defilements. Because if these sentient beings are not truly saved, they will inevitably remain submerged in the endless cycle of samsara with absolutely no end in sight." It is also stated like this in the sutra requested by the protector of the nation. At this very moment, the Venerable Tathagata, great penetrating wisdom victory, had already given his silent and profound consent. There are several instances of silent consent here, because these Brahma kings from the East, after offering their palaces with great reverence and requesting the turning of the Dharma wheel, the Buddha said, "Well, I actually have no use for the palaces, but it's fine to accept them as a gesture. Why would the Buddha need such grand palaces then?" These are the esteemed Brahmas who have arrived from the eastern direction. Subsequently, the Brahmas from the southeast regions also made their appearance. The overall scenario unfolding is essentially the same. The Buddha told the bhikshus that the Brahma kings from the lands of 500 million kotis in the southeast, just like before, each of them saw an unprecedented and brilliant light appear within their grand and magnificent palaces. Everyone was truly overjoyed and incredibly excited, finding it quite extraordinary. Each of them also thoroughly discussed this significant event amongst themselves, engaging in detailed conversations. Among them was a Brahma king named Great Compassion. The previous one before was called Savior of All, and this king now is called Great Compassion. For the Brahma assembly gathered there today, he also spoke clearly in verse then, saying, "What extraordinary causes and significant conditions have truly brought about such an auspicious and remarkable sign? Within our magnificent Brahma palaces, this astonishing phenomenon has absolutely never happened before. Such a brilliant light has indeed never appeared before. If we observe this with his profound wisdom, perhaps it is because some truly great sage or noble being has descended from the heavens and appeared in the world, or perhaps the Buddha himself has appeared in the world.
Never before in history have we truly witnessed such an extraordinarily auspicious sign today. This time, we must all wholeheartedly and diligently seek out the complete truth behind it together now. They meticulously cross countless billions of diverse worlds everywhere, carefully preparing to search for the ultimate source of the brilliant light shining. Most among them firmly believed that it must be the glorious appearance of a Buddha in the world here, who would liberate countless sentient beings. They could basically and quite easily indeed guess what was happening. If we were to go searching in various different countries, for example, it should be that a great Buddha has appeared in the world here today now. Judging carefully from the extraordinary nature of the brilliant light shining, this should be the case indeed truly. So when we talk about the truly radiant Buddha light, in actual fact there are two important distinctions to be made. There are some people today here, as I mentioned earlier before to you, who talk about the so-called Buddha light and blessings with devotion, or the Buddha's unique, special and miraculous qualities always present, but they simply refuse to acknowledge any of it whatsoever. If they don't acknowledge it, in fact, it also has to do with their own karmic connections and their own mental faculties. The Buddha also mentioned in the Avatamsaka Sutra that inferior sentient beings, those with limited perception, do not truly see the radiant Buddha's light. Since they do not perceive this brilliant light shining forth, they mistakenly claim that the Buddha's divine light simply does not exist. Because they have not personally witnessed this glorious radiance of the Buddha, they persistently keep believing that such a profound and illuminating light does not exist, that the Buddha cannot possibly possess any such spiritual light whatsoever. Actually, among many people in the world today, some individuals, for example, when it comes to blessings, they simply do not acknowledge certain special divine powers of the Buddha at all. In fact, this is directly related to their own merit and fortune. Some of us have a very strong faith, for instance, after reading a sacred Buddhist scripture. We might truly feel, wow, this profound teaching is truly wonderful and deeply inspiring. Recently, I have been diligently reading various commentaries on the 5 Pure Land Sutras, and the insightful explanations inside are truly excellent, truly remarkable, and extraordinarily profound. It seems as if, without any significant effort, one naturally comes to believe, because the Buddha's blessings have entered one's own heart. Some individuals are often considered to possess truly superior faculties, and for those with superior faculties, they immediately experience a response. But for those with inferior faculties, they simply cannot perceive it at all. The reason they cannot perceive it is that they also believe it doesn't exist. So in our world today, there are some people who simply do not acknowledge the Buddha's blessings, supernatural powers, or miraculous transformations at all. In reality, they have never experienced these themselves. If you have never experienced them, how could you possibly acknowledge them? Of course, in your world, such things simply do not exist. This is one type. There are also some people who are confident in their faith. They have no choice but to believe. They absolutely will believe. This significant point is also clearly mentioned in the sacred Buddhist scriptures. It is further discussed in detail within the profound Maharatnakutta Sutra. The enlightened Buddhas are truly inconceivable. Their radiant Buddha's light is likewise utterly inconceivable, and the immense blessings gained by those who possess sincere faith are similarly beyond comprehension. Indeed, the Buddhas are ultimately beyond all ordinary human understanding and intellectual grasp. The Buddha's light is truly beyond all comprehension, and the devotees and the merit they themselves obtain are also equally beyond comprehension. This might indeed be the case that for ordinary people, they acknowledge neither Buddha's light, the Buddhas, nor the merit gained. But as for myself, I am truly very fortunate in this regard. I have always had strong faith since I was a child. When I was very, very young, quite young, at that particular time, religion had not yet been fully opened up to the public. Ordinarily, no one could actually see these magnificent Buddha statues or intricate thangkas. Even if you did see them, you would be very afraid, because you might be punished, so you were especially scared. But usually when we children were often playing together outside, for example, if we truly found a stone that looked like a Buddha statue, we would certainly place it somewhere special and make offerings to it, especially since there was a former revered Lama living right next door to us. At that particular time, they did not dare to wear their monastic robes openly in public. However, every single year on New Year's Eve, they would carefully hang up a thangka and reverently recite scriptures. Even then, they still had to remain incredibly cautious and profoundly afraid.
And we children really, truly loved it. We thought the magnificent Buddhas on the Thangka looked so majestic and awe-inspiring. Ever since we were very young, we had great and profound faith in these sacred Buddha images and their radiant, glowing presence. Of course, this might be because of the environment we grew up in, the education we received at home, and the influence of people around us. These factors probably had a direct impact as well. But at the same time, we ourselves feel that it might also be related to our karmic connection with Buddhism and causes from our past lives. There should be a connection. So among people nowadays, some people find it very hard to maintain their faith. Even after just a few days or a few years, the strong and unwavering faith they once truly had completely disappears. So I really think that faith within the framework of Buddhism is still related to each person's own merit to some extent. Those individuals who possess genuine merit often encounter exceptionally good opportunities and highly favorable conditions. If someone unfortunately lacks sufficient merit, even if at first they meet truly excellent spiritual teachers and are presented with such remarkable opportunities, things may still significantly change later on. At this point right here today, as I just mentioned before to you, what are we talking about exactly now? When the Buddha's light shines forth brilliantly everywhere, the great compassionate Heavenly King feels that we must seek the ultimate truth. At this time, 500 million Brahma kings were also residing in their palaces. Each of them carefully filled their robes completely with heavenly flowers of many colors and then headed northwest together with great determination to seek the truth behind this light. After arriving in our world, they saw the Tathagata Great Penetrating Wisdom Victory. He was sitting beneath the Bodhi tree at the place of enlightenment, seated upon the lion throne. Similarly, he was surrounded by devas, dragons, gandharvas, humans and non-humans. There were also 16 princes requesting him to turn the Dharma wheel. At this time, the heavenly kings also bowed to the Buddha, circumambulated him, and offered heavenly flowers. They also made offerings also to the Bodhi tree. After making their offerings, just as before, they requested him to turn the Dharma wheel. They said, if it would indeed truly benefit us sentient beings, we will offer you the most magnificent, finest palaces of the gods and all humans. It's not like, this is the worst, I don't need it, do you want it? It's not like that. We don't drink these things. We don't eat this junk food. An offering to the guru it's now expired. Offer it to the guru, the spiritual leader. Someone might say, the chocolate might potentially be expired. How about we should respectfully offer it to the revered guru? Subsequently, in the sacred presence of the Buddha, they all spoke together in perfect unison, proclaiming, Holy Lord, you are truly the king among all the gods and all of humanity. You possess the truly remarkable voice of a Kalavinka. The Kalavinka is a Kalavinka, it's also prominently mentioned in ancient Sanskrit chants, right? Its voice is extremely melodious and exquisitely beautiful. Out of compassion for all sentient beings, we pay homage to you. This is what the Devas from the southeast actually just now said to him. The world-honored one is extremely rare and precious. Only after a very, very long and extended period of time does he finally appear in this world. 180 kalpas pass in vain, with no Buddha appearing in the world. After this current fortunate kalpa ends, there will also be 62,000 kalpas that pass in vain. Some scriptures also mention this, don't they? I think it's called the Pratyekabuddha Sutra. This is because during so many kalpas, a very long period of time, no Buddha appears in the world at all. The beings in the three lower realms increase in number, while the beings in the good realms, the heavens and the human world, become fewer and fewer. Now that the Buddha has appeared in the world, he serves as the eye of wisdom for all sentient beings, the ultimate refuge for everyone in the world, the compassionate Father who protects all sentient beings, the one who has great compassion for all of us sentient beings. We celestial beings and all humans have the great good fortune and immense merit from our past lives, indeed, which is why in this life we have encountered the Buddha. As I mentioned earlier, this is actually related to the merit accumulated by many of us. The other day, I read a book which talked about the esteemed daughter of a truly wealthy and remarkably generous benefactor from the vibrant city of Hong Kong. She consistently relied upon many, many highly virtuous teachers, and in terms of Buddhist doctrine, she was always, especially and profoundly well-versed in the intricate teachings of Buddhism. She also had the opportunity to receive teachings from many virtuous teachers who came to their place and had the chance to witness the turning of the Dharma wheel. But later, she eventually encountered a very false teacher, and then she became completely and truly obsessed. In the end, it truly seemed that there was absolutely no hope at all for her eventual liberation from her difficult situation. So sometimes when people profoundly combine their unwavering faith with their deep-seated emotions and their own perceived personal merit and efforts, although she was born into an exceptionally good environment, in the very end, her entire life seemed to genuinely take a completely different turn. This too is very much related to a person's inherent merit. So just look at these celestial beings. They all feel that we are truly blessed. Why? Because they encountered the Buddha. Perhaps those of us sitting here also think the same way. We are indeed very fortunate. Why is that? Because in this degenerate age, to encounter such an extraordinary Mahayana Dharma, but we have not accumulated merit well. If we do not truly cherish it and repeatedly encourage ourselves, it's hard to say whether our own lives will have a good beginning and a good end in the future. Although I now have such a wonderful opportunity to encounter the Mahayana Dharma, perhaps after a few decades or after some time has passed, maybe all my merit will be exhausted. This is a possibility. So if we look at it, merit is directly related to the happiness of sentient beings. There is indeed a direct connection. At this time, after the Brahma gods praised the Buddha with verses, each of them also said, "We sincerely wish, world-honored one, that you, out of compassion for all sentient beings, turn the wheel of Dharma." Here, the main point is to request the turning of the Dharma wheel to liberate sentient beings. At this moment, these Brahma gods spoke in unison and also used verses to request the turning of the Dharma wheel. The great sage turns the wheel of Dharma to reveal the true nature of all phenomena, the reality of everything in the universe, and to liberate sentient beings who are suffering from afflictions, so that they may be filled with the joy of the Dharma and attain true liberation. After sentient beings hear this Dharma, they experience the happiness of heavenly beings, while at the same time the suffering of the lower realms is reduced. Moreover, they practice patience, the 10 wholesome deeds, and so on, and these virtues continue to increase and grow. This is their request for the turning of the Dharma wheel. At this time, the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory also silently consented to and openly permitted their earnest request. Afterwards, there was yet another group of powerful heavenly kings. After that, for today, our comprehensive and enlightening class session is almost entirely complete, isn't it? We still have the distinct pleasure of welcoming 2 more distinguished groups, right? These 2 magnificent groups of celestial beings will gracefully come forth to join us. Next in line are the revered heavenly kings who hail from the southern direction, specifically originating from an immense expanse of 5 trillion lands, a truly vast and awe-inspiring domain. They also each experienced the same situation. Unprecedented joy and excitement arose in them, and they felt a rare sense of wonder. After discussing among themselves, they wondered what kind of causes and conditions led to the appearance of such a light. While they were in the midst of their discussion, there was a Brahma king named Wonderful Dharma. He spoke in verse saying, actually this term seems a bit different, but the content is basically the same. When we hold Dharma assemblies, sometimes I feel it's the same. For example, when a Dharma assembly is held in one place from various places, for example, a group of people comes from this school and another group comes from that school, perhaps the notice they saw, the information they received is all the same. So on the surface, it may look a certain way, but in reality, we also originate from many diverse and distinct directions, from the east, the west, the south, and the north. Back when our Larongga regularly held its Grand Dharma assemblies, it was a common sight to observe many different monasteries and temples renting various trucks and cargo vehicles to transport their participants and essential supplies. In the past, at our institute, the situation in Tibetan area at that particular time was such that transportation was not very convenient at all. Every time we held a Grand Dharma assembly, each monastery would rent a particularly large truck, specifically those substantial cargo trucks, with 20 or 30 people, all packed inside the truck bed, diligently coming to attend the Dharma assembly. Just like sentient beings and the various heavenly realms, they each possess their own distinct merits and unique living conditions. These celestial beings are the same way. They say, our heavenly palaces shine with radiant light, but this can't be without reason. We must seek out the truth behind this. For hundreds of thousands of kalpas, such a phenomenon has never occurred before. This time here today, either a great virtuous sage has been born recently, or a Buddha has appeared in the world now. One of these important things must have happened surely. So the heavenly kings all stayed in their magnificent palaces together, and they also brought beautiful heavenly flowers to the north respectfully, and to seek the truth behind the light. At this time they arrived and saw the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory sitting under the Bodhi tree, together with heavenly beings, dragons, and other sentient beings. There were also 16 princes who requested the turning of the Dharma wheel. After they had arrived, they too respectfully paid their homage and made their offerings to the revered Buddha. After making these offerings, they also requested, "Please benefit us, to accept our offerings, our palaces, and so on." At this time, in front of the Buddha, they all spoke in unison, which is indeed the following beautiful verse of praise. World-honored one, you are extremely difficult to encounter. You are the one who eradicates all afflictions in the world. It truly takes a full 130 kalpas just to encounter you. For those sentient beings who are parched with thirst, you truly satisfy them with the abundant rain of Dharma. We have never before seen anyone quite like you, one who profoundly possesses boundless and infinite wisdom. Moreover, you are like a fleeting Udumbara blossom, rarely appearing in this world, not often seen. It is extremely rare and precious. A spiritual teacher is also hard to encounter. The Dharma is difficult to obtain. The Buddha's appearance in this world is indeed an exceedingly rare and truly special event. We often use the beautiful Udumbara flower as a profound metaphor to illustrate this extraordinary rarity. The magnificent palaces of us heavenly beings are splendidly adorned and richly decorated with an unparalleled splendor of light. And we humbly make our offerings before our greatly compassionate Buddha. The Buddha must graciously accept these offerings with compassion today. Indeed, the Buddha possesses many magnificent heavenly palaces throughout existence. At this significant time now, after the Brahma gods finished reciting their sacred verses respectfully, they also earnestly requested the turning of the Dharma wheel here, so that the sentient beings of this world, including heavenly beings, Mara, Brahma, ascetics, and Brahmins, in the Tibetan version, it seems that this phrase appears at the end of every section, but here it only appears in this place and not elsewhere. In the previous important sections, every stage of turning the Dharma wheel, briefly, all the gods, Maras, Brahmas, ascetics, and Brahmins, all attain peace and liberation. This sentence appears in every section in our Tibetan version. At this time, Brahma and the others also unanimously requested the Buddha to turn the Dharma wheel. Actually, every single time a group of heavenly beings arrived, they would first recite a verse of offering and recite verse requesting turning of Dharma wheel. Pray to honored one among gods and humans. Turn unsurpassed Dharma wheel. Beat the great Dharma drum. Blow the great Dharma conch. And let the great Dharma rain fall everywhere to liberate countless boundless beings. That is precisely why we usually strike the resonant Dharma drum with great care. And now, during the classes in each and every group, do I actually blow the conch shell when I am teaching the students in their respective sessions? No, that can't possibly be right, can it? I'm trying to understand what happened. Did we truly manage to blow the conch shell? Nowadays, we generally do not beat the great Dharma drum in that particular manner, but the practice of blowing the conch shell has always been consistently observed. So, when you have a class, it is truly best if it's not entirely convenient to blow the conch shell in the main hall with everyone present. I sincerely hope that the Dharma teacher can perform this important ritual at home, as that would be perfectly acceptable. Please blow the sacred conch shell and then proceed to come to the main hall for the gathering. That might be a bit more convenient. We used to do it in this particular way as well. Sometimes the conch shell was carefully kept at home, often in a special place, and either the Dharma teacher or the counselor could do it. Every time before teaching the Dharma, the conch would be blown once. This is really very important. It's best if the Dharma teacher does it at their own or the counselor's home to signify the morning. At this time, even some animals and other truly sentient beings also benefit, including many other various beings we cannot see, such as non-humans and even asuras, and even visible asuras here present as well. That's really quite good. So, with deep reverence, we pray to the Buddha to graciously turn the wheel of Dharma for us. At this time, the Tathagata Great Penetration Wisdom Victory also silently agrees. There are also additional beings from the western regions and the southern territories, as well as those from below. All these sentient beings. Here today, the directions we mentioned earlier before to you have already been omitted here now completely. From the west, the south, all the way to below deep down, and the four corners and other directions are exactly the same indeed. Below there may be only one direction mentioned, and the others are not really discussed. All right, that's all for today.
Jupun Solen Droa Droa Sha
Bandarangara Badna Sodargye Bandarangara Badna Sodargye Bandarangara Badna Sodargye